The ice drill screamed as it cut through the frozen ground. Dr. Tae-ho Kim wiped sweat from his face despite the cold Antarctic air. His team had been digging for 3 months now, following strange metal readings deep under the ice. "Doctor, you need to see this," called So-young Park from the drill site. The military captain stood at the edge of a massive hole they had carved into the ice. Her breath made white clouds in the freezing air. Tae-ho walked over and looked down. Far below, something dark and metallic gleamed under their bright lights. It was not rock or ice. It was something made by intelligent hands. "How deep?" he asked. 200 meters and still going," So-young replied. "Whatever it is, it's huge." Jin-Woo Lee, their team's scientist, came running from his equipment. His face was excited and worried at the same time. "The readings are getting stronger. This thing is giving off energy patterns I've never seen before." "What kind of energy?" Tae-ho asked. "I don't know. It's like the metal is alive somehow. The energy keeps changing, like it's responding to something." Hye-jin Choi, their communications expert, looked up from her computer. "I'm picking up faint signals too, very weak, but they're there, coming from whatever is down there." The team looked at each other. They had come to Antarctica to study old ice formations. Instead, they had found something that should not exist. "We need to go down there," Tae-ho said. So-young shook her head. "Too dangerous. We don't know what we're dealing with." "That's exactly why we need to look. This could be the most important discovery in human history." It took 2 more days to create a safe path down to the buried object. When they finally reached it, they stood in silence. What they had found was not just a piece of metal. It was a ship. The vessel stretched away into the darkness, far beyond what their lights could reach. The hull was made of a material that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Sometimes it looked like metal. Sometimes it looked like it was made of light itself. "This is impossible," Jin-Woo whispered. "The ice around this thing is thousands of years old, maybe older. But look at this ship. It looks like it was built yesterday." Tae-ho reached out to touch the hull. The moment his gloved hand made contact, the ship came alive. Lights ran along the hull like electric rivers. Panels opened with soft whispers. A doorway appeared where none had been before, glowing with warm light that seemed to invite them inside. "Nobody move," So-young ordered, raising her weapon, but it was too late. Hye-jin stepped forward, drawn by something none of them could understand. She walked toward the open door as if in a dream. "Hye-jin, stop!" Tae-ho called. She paused at the doorway and turned back to them. Her eyes were wide with wonder. "It's safe. I can feel it. The ship wants us to come inside." "Ships don't want anything," So-young said. "They're just machines." "Not this one," Hye-jin replied. She stepped through the doorway. The others had no choice but to follow. Inside, the ship was even more amazing. The corridors were wide and filled with soft light that came from the walls themselves. Everything was clean and new, as if the ship had been waiting for them. They followed Hye-jin through several corridors until they reached a large room. In the center was a table made of the same strange material as the hull. Above the table, lights began to dance in the air. The lights formed shapes. First, they showed the solar system. Then they showed Earth. Red lines appeared around the planet, and words formed in the air. The words were in English. "Seed World Designation, Terra 03, Status, Active, Temporal Beacon, Established." "What does that mean?" So-young asked. More words appeared. "Greetings, ancestors. We are the remnant of humanity's future. These vessels are your inheritance." Jin-Woo stumbled backward. "That's impossible. This ship is saying it was built by humans. By us, but from the future." The display changed. Now it showed a great war among the stars. Huge fleets of alien ships surrounded Earth. Human ships looking, just like the one they stood in, fought against impossible odds. Timeline. Designation, Omega. Probability of human survival, 0.03%. Temporal intervention authorized. "They're saying they're from a future where humanity lost a war," Tae-ho said, slowly. "And they sent these ships back in time to change that future." The display showed more ships buried in ice around the world. Dozens of them, each one the size of a city. Vessels contain complete technological database. Defensive systems active. Training protocols ready. Galactic contact imminent. He-Jin looked up from her equipment. I'm detecting movement in space. Something big is coming toward Earth. How big? So-Young asked. 3 separate fleets. They'll be here in less than a week. The ship's display changed again. Now it showed alien faces. Some looked like lizards. Others were tall and thin, with pale skin. The third group seemed to be made of energy rather than flesh. Villani Consortium. Koran Empire. Ethereal Collective. Probability of peaceful contact. 12%. Probability of human survival without intervention. 4%. These aliens are coming. To destroy us? Taeho asked. Negative. They come to prevent human technological advancement. They have done this before to other species. Humanity's potential frightens them. So-Young checked her radio. I need to contact command. The world needs to know about this. Agreed. Time is short. Awakening. Sequence must begin. Other vessels must be activated. The ship's walls began to glow brighter. Throughout the vessel, they could hear the sound of systems coming online. The ship was waking up after sleeping for thousands of years. Why us? Taeho asked the ship. Why did you choose our team to find you first? Selection was not random. Your minds are capable of understanding. Your hearts are pure. The future of both timelines depends on humanity making the right choices. Jin Woo looked at his readings. The energy output is increasing rapidly. This ship is becoming more powerful by the minute. Correct. Full activation will complete in 72 hours. At that time, this vessel will be ready for combat. But combat is not the goal. Then what is? Hyojin asked. Survival, growth, proving that humanity deserves its place among the stars. The aliens believe humans are too dangerous to live. You must prove them wrong. The display showed Earth again, but now it was surrounded by protective fields of energy. More ships rose from the ice, taking positions around the planet. These vessels are not just weapons. They are tools for building, healing, exploring. They represent humanity's potential for greatness, but potential means nothing without wisdom. So-Young was already talking rapidly into her radio, trying to reach her commanders. The other team members stared at the alien fleets approaching Earth on the display. What if we can't prove them wrong? Taeho asked. What if they attack anyway? Then you will have the tools to defend yourself. But remember, ancestors, the goal is not to win a war. The goal is to prevent one. The ship fell silent for a moment. Then new words appeared. Choose wisely. The future of all humanity depends on the decisions you make in the coming days. We have given you the power to change destiny. Now you must find the wisdom to use it well. Outside, the ice around the ship began to crack and melt. The great vessel was preparing to rise from its ancient sleep. Around the world, similar ships were awakening. Humanity was about to meet the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same. Admiral Dong Hyun-yoon stood in the command center high above Earth, watching the screens that showed 3 alien fleets approaching. Each fleet had hundreds of ships, and they would arrive in less than 2 days. Status report, he ordered. Mi Young, Kang, Earth's first ambassador to aliens, looked up from her desk. The alien fleets are sending messages. They want to talk. What are they saying? They're being very polite, too polite. They say they detected unusual energy from our system and want to help us deal with any dangerous technology we might have found. Woo Jin Nam, the engineer who had been studying the ancient ships, shook his head. They're lying. The ship's computers showed us what these aliens really want. They want to stop us before we become too advanced. Ye Jin Song, their military analyst, pointed at the screen. Look at their formation. This isn't a peaceful visit. They're positioned for attack. Admiral Yoon walked to the window. Below, he could see one of the great ships rising from the ice. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The ship was so large it cast shadows over entire cities. How many ships do we have active? He asked. 12 so far, Woo Jin replied. More are waking up every hour. But, sir, each of our ships is more advanced than their entire fleets combined. That's what worries me, the Admiral said. Power without wisdom is dangerous. Mi Young received a message on her computer. The alien fleets are requesting permission to enter our system. They want to send representatives to Earth. What should we tell them? The truth, that we're willing to talk, but we won't be threatened. The next day, the aliens arrived. Their ships were impressive but old-fashioned compared to humanity's newfound vessels. The three fleets took positions around Earth's system, clearly showing they had the planet surrounded. Ambassador Mi Young prepared for the most important meeting in human history. She wore her best uniform and carried a briefcase full of diplomatic protocols that might mean nothing when dealing with aliens. The meeting took place on a space station between Earth and the Moon. The aliens came in small shuttles, leaving their big ships behind. Mi Young brought Ye Jin and two other diplomats with her. The first aliens to arrive looked like tall, thin lizards with golden scales. Their leader introduced himself as Trade Master Vex of the Villani Consortium. "Greetings, young humans," he said in perfect English. His voice was smooth and cold. "We come in peace to help you with your little problem." "What problem?" Mi Young asked. "The dangerous artifacts you have discovered. Such technology is too advanced for a species of your development level. We offer to take these items away for proper disposal." The second group of aliens looked like humans, but taller and stronger. Their skin was pale blue, and their eyes glowed red. Their leader was General Korth of the Koran Empire. "The consortium speaks of disposal," General Korth said. "The Empire offers a better solution. Give us these weapons, and we will protect your world from those who would harm you." The third group was the strangest. They looked like they were made of light and shadow mixed together. Their leader's voice came from everywhere at once. "We are Elder Nix of the Ethereal Collective. We have watched over young species for millions of years. Trust us to guide you away from the dark path these artifacts represent." Mi Young looked at each alien leader. They all spoke like they were talking to children who had found something dangerous. "Thank you for your concern," she said, carefully. "But humanity can take care of its own affairs." Trade Master Vex laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. "Child species always think they know better. You have no idea what you have found." "Then tell us," Ye Jin said. General Korth's red eyes glowed brighter. "Technology that breaks the natural order. Ships that should not exist. Weapons that violate the laws of physics. Such things upset the balance of the galaxy." Translation, Mi Young thought. "You're afraid we'll become more powerful than you." Elder Nix's shadowy form shifted. Fear is not the correct word. "We are concerned. Every species goes through this phase. They find ancient technology, become drunk with power, and then destroy themselves or others. We prevent such tragedies." "By destroying the species first?" Ye Jin asked. The aliens looked uncomfortable. Trade Master Vex spoke first. "We prefer peaceful solutions, trade agreements, technology exchanges, mutual cooperation under proper guidance." "Whose guidance?" Mi Young asked. "Those who have survived long enough to gain wisdom," General Korth replied. Mi Young realized the aliens were exactly as the ships had warned. They saw humanity as a threat to be controlled or eliminated. "We appreciate your offers," she said, "but humanity will decide its own path." The three alien leaders exchanged looks. Elder Nix spoke for all of them. "That is unfortunate. Young species rarely make wise choices when left alone." "Are you threatening us?" Ye Jin asked. "We are warning you," General Korth said. "The galaxy has rules. Species that break those rules face consequences." "What kind of consequences?" Trade Master Vex smiled, showing sharp teeth. "Economic isolation, military intervention, quarantine, whatever is necessary to maintain order." The meeting ended badly. The aliens returned to their ships, and Mi Young's team returned to Earth. "They're going to attack," Ye Jin said during the flight home. "Not immediately," Mi Young replied. "First they'll try to turn the galaxy against us, make it look like we're the threat." Back on Earth, Wu Jin had been working with the ancient ship's computers. When the diplomatic team returned, he had bad news. "I've been analyzing the aliens' ship designs," he said. "These three species have done this before, many times. They're specialists at stopping young species from advancing." "How?" Admiral Yoon asked. "The Villani offer trade deals that make species dependent on them. The Korans provide military protection that becomes military occupation. The Ethereals offer guidance that becomes mind control. And if a species refuses all three offers? They combine forces and destroy them. They've wiped out dozens of civilizations over the past million years. Admiral Yoon looked at the screens showing Earth's new ships. Do we have enough firepower to fight them? Wu Jin nodded. One of our ships could probably defeat their entire combined fleet. But the ship computers keep warning us that winning a fight isn't the same as solving the problem. What do you mean? These three species represent hundreds of others. If we destroy them, the rest of the galaxy will unite against us. We'll face thousands of fleets instead of three. Mi Young studied the diplomatic files. There has to be another way. The future humans who sent these ships back in time must have had a plan beyond just giving us bigger weapons. Yejin pointed at the communication screens. The aliens are broadcasting to other species. They're telling the galaxy that humanity has found dangerous technology and refuses to give it up. What's the response? Mixed. Some species are asking questions. Others are already pledging support to the three fleets. Admiral Yoon made his decision. We need to learn everything we can about these ships. If there's going to be a fight, we need to be ready. But more importantly, we need to find a way to prove that humanity isn't the threat they claim we are. Outside the space station, the three alien fleets began moving into attack formation. They were giving humanity one last chance to surrender the ships peacefully. Time was running out, and the future of both human and galactic civilization hung in the balance. The ancient ships had given humanity the power to defend itself, but power alone would not be enough. They needed wisdom, and they needed it fast. Captain Kyung-ho Lim stood on the bridge of humanity's first active starship. The vessel was so advanced that most of its controls operated by thought alone. Around him, his crew was still learning how to use technology that seemed like magic. Status. Report, he ordered. Bo-Ra Shin, the chief engineer, looked up from her station. Her hands were shaking slightly from excitement and fear. All systems are online, Captain. The ship is fully powered and ready for anything. Weapons systems. Kyung-ho asked Min-ho Jang, their weapons officer, shook his head in amazement. Sir, I don't even know how to describe what this ship can do. The weapons don't just shoot energy or missiles, they can change the laws of physics around enemy ships. Explain. Watch this. Min-ho activated a display that showed empty space near the ship. With a thought, he created a small gravity well that bent light around it. Then he made it disappear. We can create black holes, stop time, or make matter simply cease to exist. Yoon-ji. Oh, their navigation officer was equally amazed by her systems. Captain, this ship can travel faster than light in ways the aliens don't even know are possible. We can be in one place and another place at the same time. Captain Kyung-ho walked to the main viewer. Outside, he could see the three alien fleets surrounding Earth. Their ships looked primitive compared to his vessel. They have no idea what they're facing, he said quietly. Should we be worried about that? Bo-Ra asked. Before Kyung-ho could answer, alarms began sounding. The alien fleets were moving toward Earth in attack formation. Captain, Yoon-ji reported, the aliens are demanding we surrender our ship immediately. They say if we don't, they'll begin bombing Earth's cities. Kyung-ho felt anger rise in his chest. These aliens had come to his home system and were threatening to murder billions of innocent people. No, he said firmly. We won't let them hurt Earth. Orders, sir? Min-ho asked, his hand hovering over the weapon controls. Kyung-ho paused. The ship's computer had been very clear about one thing. How humanity handled this first test would determine the future of both species. We disable their weapons and engines, he decided. No permanent damage, no killed aliens. We show them we're stronger, but we're not murderers. The ship moved toward the alien fleets with impossible speed. One moment, it was near Earth. The next, it was in the middle of the enemy formation. The alien ships opened fire immediately. Energy beams and missiles filled space around Kyung-ho's vessel. But none of the attacks reached their target. The human ship existed slightly outside normal space, and the alien weapons passed right through it. Their weapons can't even touch us, Bo-Ra marveled. Now show them ours can touch them, Kyung-ho ordered. Min-ho activated the ship's defensive systems. Carefully controlled energy fields reached out and gently touched each alien vessel. The fields didn't destroy anything. Instead, they simply turned off the aliens' weapons and engines. In less than 10 minutes, 3 entire fleets of warships became floating metal boxes. Not one alien was hurt, but none of their ships could move or fight. "Impossible," came a transmission from the Koran fleet. "No weapon can disable our shields from the outside." "We didn't go through your shields," Kyung-ho replied. "We went around them, through dimensions your technology doesn't know exist." Trademaster Vex's voice crackled over the radio. "What do you want, human?" "Peace. We want you to leave our system, and never threaten Earth again." "And if we refuse?" Kyung-ho looked at Min-ho, who nodded. The ship's weapons created a small demonstration near the alien fleets. Space itself seemed to tear open, showing the swirling energy of another dimension. "Then we'll send you somewhere very far away," Kyung-ho said. "We have the power to move your entire fleets to another galaxy. We're hoping we don't need to use it." Elder Nix's ethereal voice whispered across the communication channel. "You threaten us while claiming to want peace?" "No," Kyung-ho replied. "We're showing you that we could destroy you but choose not to. There's a difference." "Why?" General Korth demanded. "If you have such power, why not use it?" Bo-Ra looked at her captain. It was a good question. Their ship could easily destroy all 3 fleets and probably most of the galaxy if they wanted to. "Because," Kyung-ho said slowly, "power without wisdom leads to tyranny, and wisdom means knowing when not to use power." The aliens fell silent. This was clearly not what they had expected from humanity. "You could rule the galaxy with ships like this," Trademaster Vex said finally. "We don't want to rule anyone," Kyung-ho replied. "We want to explore, to learn, to help others grow. The galaxy is big enough for everyone." "That's what they all say," General Korth growled. At first, Yunji detected new movement on her sensors. "Captain, more ships are approaching, dozens, of different species." The alien reinforcements arrived over the next few hours. Ship after ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel, surrounding Earth's system with hundreds of vessels. "Well," Min-ho said, "this complicates things." Admiral Yoon's voice came over the radio from Earth. "Captain Lim, we're detecting massive enemy reinforcements. What's your status?" "Unchanged, sir. Our ship can handle any number of enemies, but that's not the point anymore." "What do you mean?" Kyung-ho studied the gathering alien fleets. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to see humanity's new power for themselves. "Sir, if we fight all these species, we prove their point. We become the dangerous threat they say we are. But if we don't fight, they might destroy Earth anyway." Bo-Ra had been monitoring the alien communications. "Captain, they're arguing among themselves. Some want to attack immediately. Others want to negotiate. A few are actually curious about our technology." "Which species are curious?" "Smaller ones. Species that have been oppressed by the big 3 powers. They're wondering if humanity might be their chance for freedom." Kyung-ho realized they had reached a turning point. Whatever happened next would shape the future of the entire galaxy. "Open a channel to all alien fleets," he ordered. "Channel open, sir." Kyung-ho took a deep breath. "This is Captain Kyung-ho, Lim of the human vessel Sovereign. I want to speak to all of you, not just your leaders." Angry voices filled the channel as various alien commanders objected to a human addressing their crews directly. "I know you think humans are dangerous," Kyung-ho continued. "You think we'll use this technology to conquer and destroy. I understand. Why you believe that? Most species with this much power would do exactly that." "Then prove you're different," called an unknown alien voice. "How?" Kyung-ho asked. "Show us that humans can be trusted with power." Kyung-ho looked at his crew. Bo-Ra nodded encouragingly. Min-ho had his finger ready on the weapon controls, just in case. Yunji was tracking every alien ship ready to escape if necessary. "Computer," Kyung-ho said to the ship's artificial intelligence, "show them our historical records. Show them how humans have treated power throughout our history." "Are you sure, Captain?" the computer asked. "Human history contains much violence and cruelty. Show them everything, the good and the bad. Let them decide for themselves what kind of species we are." The ship began broadcasting humanity's complete history to every alien vessel in the system. Wars, slavery, genocide, but also art, music, literature, and countless acts of kindness and sacrifice. The alien fleets fell silent as they watched thousands of years of human civilization unfold before them. Finally, Elder Nix spoke. "You show us your failures as well as your triumphs. Why?" "Because that's what wisdom is," Kyung-ho replied. "Learning from mistakes, growing beyond our worst impulses, becoming better than we were." "And you believe humans have become better?" Kyung-ho looked out at the alien fleets. With one word, he could order their destruction. With his ship's power, he could make himself emperor of the galaxy. Instead, he said, "We're trying to become better. Every day. That's all anyone can do." The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in its million-year history. Representatives from 500 species crowded into the Great Chamber, their voices mixing into a storm of fear and anger. Ambassador Daewon Go sat in the Young Species section, surrounded by empty chairs. Humanity was the newest member of galactic civilization, and most other species treated them like unwelcome children. "The human threat must be addressed," shouted the Koran representative, his red eyes blazing with fury. "They possess technology that violates natural law." Sujin Han, sitting beside Daewon, whispered into her communication device. As humanity's intelligence officer, she had been listening to alien conversations for weeks. What she heard was terrifying. "They're all scared," she told Daewon quietly. "Every single species in this chamber is afraid that humans will do to them what they've done to others." On Earth, Junho Baek was coordinating humanity's response from the military command center. His screens showed alien fleets gathering throughout the galaxy. Not just 3 fleets now, but hundreds. "Status report," he ordered. Na-young Im, their diplomatic strategist, looked up from her computer. "It's bad, sir. 73 species have pledged military support to the anti-human alliance. More are joining every hour." "What about our supporters?" 16 species have said they want to remain neutral. 3 have quietly expressed interest in human friendship. None have publicly supported us. Junho studied the galactic map. Red dots showed hostile fleets. Yellow dots showed neutral ones. There were almost no green dots representing friends. "We're facing the entire galaxy," he said grimly. Back at the Galactic Council, the debate was getting heated. The ethereal representative stood up, its body shimmering with angry energy. "The humans have shown their true nature," it declared. "They disabled 3 fleets without warning. This is the behavior of aggressors, not peacemakers." Daewon stood up to respond. "With respect, honored elder, those fleets came to our system threatening to bomb our cities. We defended ourselves without killing anyone. How does that make us aggressors?" "You possess weapons that can destroy entire star systems," the Vellani representative hissed. "No single species should have such power." "Yet the Koran Empire has planet-killing weapons," Daewon replied calmly. "The ethereal collective can control minds across entire sectors. The Vellani Consortium owns the economic systems that dozens of species depend on for survival. Why is human power different?" The chamber fell silent. Daewon had pointed out something everyone knew but never talked about. The established powers already controlled the galaxy through their own forms of dominance. Sujin leaned forward in her chair. She had been analyzing galactic history for months, and she finally understood the real situation. "They're not afraid of human power," she whispered to Daewon. "They're afraid of human independence. Every other species in this chamber depends on one of the big 3 powers for something. Humans don't need any of them." The truth was simple, but shocking. For millions of years, galactic civilization had been built on controlled dependence. The Korans provided military protection. The Vellani controlled trade and resources. The Ethereals offered technology and guidance. Every species needed at least one of the big 3 to survive. Humans had broken that system by finding technology that made them independent of everyone. The Vellani representative spoke again. "The human ships contain technology from the future. This violates the temporal protection laws established by the ethereal collective." "What temporal protection laws?" Daewon asked. "Laws that prevent dangerous timeline changes. Laws that protect galactic stability." Daewon realized this was another lie. "You mean laws that prevent species from changing their situation. Laws that keep everyone dependent on the established powers." The Koran representative stood up angrily. The human ambassador accuses us of conspiracy. No, Daewon replied. I'm pointing out facts. Every law, every rule, every tradition in this galaxy seems designed to prevent change, to keep powerful species powerful and weak species weak. Elder Nyx floated forward, its ethereal form rippling with displeasure. Young human, you do not understand the wisdom of stability. Change brings chaos. Chaos brings suffering. For whom? Daewon asked. Change might bring suffering to those who profit from the current system. But what about those who suffer under it? Sujin activated her communication device. The recordings she played filled the chamber with voices from across the galaxy. Voices of species that had been strip-mined for resources. Voices of civilizations forced into technological stagnation. Voices of races that had been protected into extinction. These are your victims, Daewon said as the recordings played. This is the price of your stability. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives began shouting at each other in dozens of languages. Some defended the current system. Others demanded answers about the recordings. On Earth, Junho was receiving reports from human intelligence teams throughout the galaxy. Sir, Na Young reported, something interesting is happening. Several species are breaking away from the anti-human alliance. Which ones? Mostly smaller civilizations, species that have been oppressed by the major powers. They're starting to ask questions about why they should fight humanity. What kind of questions? Why should they risk their lives to preserve a system that keeps them weak? What if humanity really is different? What if this is their chance for freedom? Junho allowed himself a small smile. The alliance is fracturing? Slowly. But yes. The problem is, the major powers are responding by increasing pressure on their dependents. Some species are being threatened with economic collapse or military invasion if they don't join the anti-human coalition. So they're being forced to fight us. Yes, sir. Many of them don't want to, but they don't see any choice. Back at the Galactic Council, Daewon was making one final speech. Honored representatives, he said, humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to explore it, learn from it, and help it grow, but we won't be slaves to anyone. Pretty words, the Koran representative snarled. But words are meaningless. Power is what matters, and you have too much of it. Then what do you propose? Daewon asked. Surrender your ships. Accept guidance from the established powers. Take your place in the proper order of things. And if we refuse? The three major power representatives exchanged looks. Elder Nyx spoke. For all of them. Then you will face the consequences of your choice. Sujin stood up beside Daewon. Is that a threat? It is reality, the ethereal replied. Species that disrupt galactic order must be corrected. If correction is impossible, they must be removed. The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood what removed meant. Daewon looked around at the hundreds of alien faces staring at him. Some showed fear. Some showed anger. A few showed sympathy. Then I guess we understand each other, he said quietly. You're afraid that if other species see humans living free, they'll want freedom too. You're afraid your entire system of control will collapse. We prefer stability to chaos, Elder Nyx replied. And we prefer freedom to slavery. Daewon and Sujin left the chamber. Behind them, the representatives began planning for war. On Earth, the final preparations were being made. More ships were rising from their ancient resting places. Human crews were learning to use technology beyond their wildest dreams, but technology alone would not be enough. The entire galaxy was turning against them, driven by fear and controlled by powers that would rather destroy humanity than lose their dominance. The war for galactic freedom was about to begin, and humanity stood almost alone against forces that had ruled the stars for millions of years. The only question was whether the power to fight would be enough, or if wisdom could find another way. Commander Sung-Woo An piloted his exploration ship through a star system that had been dead for 1,000 years. His mission was to make first contact with species the major galactic powers had forgotten or abandoned. Sensors are picking up. Life signs on the third planet, reported Jihai Ryu, the team's cultural specialist. But the readings are strange. It's like the entire world is sick. Through the ship's windows, they could see a planet covered in gray dust. The oceans were dark with pollution, and no lights showed on the night side. "What happened here?" asked Tae-young Seo, who led their humanitarian mission team. "According to galactic records," Ji-hai said, checking her computer, "this is Kelvara, home to the Kelvari people. They were strip-mined by the Volani Consortium 50 years ago." Hyo-jin-won, their science officer, scanned the planet more carefully. "I'm detecting about 2 million life forms still alive down there, but they're all showing signs of radiation poisoning and genetic damage." Seung-woo made his decision. "We're going down. If there are people suffering, we help them." "Sir," Tae-young warned, "we don't know if the Kelvari are hostile. Their world was destroyed by aliens. They might not trust us. Then we'll have to prove we're different." The ship landed near what had once been a great city. Now it was ruins, covered in toxic dust. The air was barely breathable, and the ground glowed with dangerous radiation. A small group of Kelvari approached the ship. They looked like tall, thin humans, but their skin was gray and their eyes were large and sad. They moved slowly, clearly weakened by years of living in a poisoned world. The leader of the group spoke in broken galactic standard. "More aliens. Come to take what little we have left." Seung-woo stepped forward, his hands empty and visible. "No, we're humans. We came to see if we could help." The Kelvari leader laughed bitterly. "Help? Like the Volani helped? They promised prosperity? They promised a better life. Instead, they took our resources and left us to die slowly." Ji-hai stepped beside Seung-woo. She had studied the Kelvari culture and spoke their language. "We know what was done to you. We're here to try to fix it, if you'll let us." "Fix?" The Kelvari pointed at their dead world. "How do you fix a poisoned planet? How do you heal genetic damage that will last for generations?" Hyojin activated his medical scanner. "Actually, we might be able to help with both of those problems. The human ship's advanced systems could do things the Kelvari had never imagined. It could clean radiation from soil and water. It could repair genetic damage at the cellular level. It could even restore dead ecosystems." "Why would you do this?" the Kelvari leader asked suspiciously. "What do you want in return?" "Nothing," Seung-woo replied. "We're not here to make deals or sign treaties. We're here because people are suffering, and we can help stop that suffering." The Kelvari stared at him in disbelief. In their experience, aliens always wanted something in return for their help. Tae-young began setting up medical equipment. "We'll need to treat the radiation sickness first, then we can work on the long-term genetic repairs." "How much will this cost us?" the Kelvari leader asked. "Nothing. It's free." The Kelvari began to cry. After 50 years of slow death, someone was offering them hope without asking for payment. Word spread quickly through the galaxy about what humans were doing. While the major powers prepared for war, human ships were visiting forgotten worlds and helping abandoned peoples. On the mining world of Drakmor, humans cleaned up toxic waste that had been poisoning the native Drakmori for centuries. On the agricultural planet Thessia, they helped farmers whose soil had been ruined by overharvesting for Volani export crops. Each time, the humans asked for nothing in return. They simply helped because they could. This behavior confused and alarmed the galactic powers even more than human weapons did. "It's manipulation," Trade Master Vex told the Emergency Council of Major Powers. "They're building allies by pretending to be generous." "No," General Korth disagreed. "I've studied their military tactics. This isn't strategy. They really believe in helping others." Elder Nix's ethereal form rippled with concern. "That makes them even more dangerous. A species that helps others freely threatens the entire foundation of galactic order." The three powers had built their civilization on controlled exchange. Help was given only in return for loyalty, resources, or strategic advantage. The idea of helping others simply because it was right was revolutionary and dangerous. "If other species see humans giving advanced technology freely," Trade Master Vex said, "they'll start questioning why they have to pay us for inferior technology. Worse," General Korth added, "they'll start questioning why they need our protection when humans can protect them better without demanding military bases on their worlds." Elder Nix spoke the truth they all feared. If the human model spreads, our entire system of control collapses. Species will become independent. They won't need us anymore. On the healing world of Kelvara, amazing changes were taking place. The human ships had worked for weeks to clean the air and water. The gray dust was gone, replaced by green plants growing in soil that was rich and healthy again. The Kelvari leader, whose name was Vorthok, stood beside Commander Sung-woo watching. Children play in a garden that had been dead wasteland just days before. "I still don't understand," Vorthok said. "Why do you do this? What do humans gain?" Sung-woo thought about the question. "We gain the knowledge that we helped someone. We gain friends. We gain the satisfaction of using our power for something good. And that's enough?" "It has to be. Power that isn't used to help others is just selfishness." HFY approached them with a communication device. "Commander, we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Dozens of species are asking for human help with problems the major powers have ignored." "What kind of problems?" "Ecological disasters, genetic plagues, technological dependence. Species that have been kept deliberately weak want our help to become strong." Tae-young joined the conversation. "Sir, we're also getting warnings. The Villani are threatening economic sanctions against any species that accepts human help. The Korans are moving military fleets to intimidate our new friends." Hyojin had been monitoring galactic communications. "The ethereals are the worst. They're using their mental influence to make some species believe that accepting human help will damn their souls." Sung-woo realized humanity was facing a test of character. They could continue helping others and face the wrath of the galactic powers, or they could stop and try to negotiate some kind of peace. "What do you think we should do?" he asked his team. "Keep helping," HFY said immediately. "These people need us." "Agreed," said Tae-young. "We didn't gain this power just to protect ourselves." Hyojin nodded. "The galactic powers are already planning to attack us anyway. At least this way, we'll have allies who chose to support us." Vorthok had been listening to the conversation. Now he spoke up. "Commander, the Kelvari have something to offer in return." "For your help?" "We don't need payment," Sung-woo replied. "Not payment. Partnership. You've shown us that strength can be used to help rather than dominate. If war comes, the Kelvari will stand with humanity." Similar messages came from dozens of worlds, species that had been forgotten, oppressed, or abandoned by the galactic powers were choosing to ally themselves with humanity. It's not about the technology, HFY realized. It's about hope. For the first time in millions of years, weak species have hope that they can become strong without becoming evil. The galactic powers watched their carefully controlled civilization beginning to crack. Some species were openly defying economic sanctions to accept human help. Others were questioning why they needed protection that cost them their freedom. Most dangerous of all, some species were beginning to develop their own advanced technology, guided by human teachers who shared knowledge freely instead of hoarding it. "The situation is out of control," Elder Nix told the Emergency Council. "Human influence is spreading too quickly to contain." Then we moved to the final solution. General Korth said grimly, "Total war. We destroy humanity before they can corrupt any more species." Trademaster Vex nodded agreement. "Better to rule over a smaller galaxy than lose control of the entire one." Across the galaxy, the largest military alliance in galactic history began to assemble. Thousands of ships from hundreds of species, all united by fear of human influence. But humanity was no longer alone. For every enemy ship in the growing armada, there was a species that had been helped by humans and was willing to fight to preserve their newfound hope. The battle for the future of galactic civilization was about to begin. On one side stood the old order, built on control and dependence. On the other stood a new possibility, built on cooperation and freedom. The outcome would determine not just humanity's fate, but the fate of every species in the galaxy. Supreme Fleet Admiral In-Su Cho stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship, watching the largest armada in galactic history approach Earth. Thousands of alien ships filled space, representing hundreds of species united by fear of human power. Final count, Admiral, reported Strategic Operations Commander Hyunwoo Park. 8,000 enemy vessels, including 12 planet-killer ships and 43 reality-warping weapons. Chief Diplomatic Officer Yoo-jin Kim looked up from her communications station. "They're broadcasting surrender terms. We have 1 hour to give up all our ships and accept exile to the Andromeda Galaxy." "And if we refuse?" Admiral In-su asked. "Complete destruction of Earth and all human colonies. Timeline analysis." Specialist Su-Min Lee had been studying the ancient ship's historical records. "Admiral, I think I understand now why the future humans sent these ships back in time." "Explain." "They weren't just trying to give us better weapons. They were giving us a choice the original timeline never had. We can change the future by choosing differently than they did." Admiral Insu studied the tactical displays. His fleet of ancient ships could easily destroy the entire alien armada. The technology gap was so large that it wouldn't even be a fair fight. "What choice did the future humans make?" he asked. "They fought back," Su-Min replied. "They won every battle, conquered their enemies, and became the dominant power in the galaxy. But that dominance bred resentment, which led to rebellion, which led to the final war that nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy. So fighting is the wrong choice? Not necessarily. But fighting the same way they did will lead to the same result." Commander Hyun-woo received an urgent message. "Admiral, our allied species are taking positions around Earth. The Kelvari, the Drakmori, Thessians, and 47 other species have sent ships to help defend us." Yujin shook her head sadly. "Their ships are brave but primitive. They'll be destroyed in the first wave of alien attacks." "Then we have to make sure there is no first wave," Admiral Insu decided. The alien armada moved into attack formation. At its head were the ships of the three major powers, Villani, Koran, and Ethereal. Behind them came the fleets of species forced to choose between fighting humanity and facing destruction themselves. "Open a channel to the alien fleet, Admiral," Insu ordered. The main screen showed the faces of the three alien leaders. Trademaster Vex looked confident. General Korth appeared eager for battle. Elder Nyx seemed resigned to what was about to happen. "This is your final warning, humans," Trademaster Vex announced. "Surrender now or face annihilation." "I have a counter-proposal," Admiral Insu replied. "Let us show you something before you attack." "No more delays," General Korth snarled. "You've had your chance to surrender." "Not a delay," Admiral Insu said calmly. "A demonstration, one that will change everything." Without waiting for permission, Su-Min activated the fleet's temporal manipulation systems. Space around Earth's solar system began to shimmer and bend. "What are you doing?" Elder Nyx demanded. "Stepping outside of time," Admiral Insu replied. "Watch and learn." The human ships created a temporal bubble around Earth's system. Inside the bubble, time moved normally. Outside, the rest of the galaxy was frozen in a single moment. "Impossible," breathed Trademaster Vex. "No species has ever mastered temporal manipulation on this scale." "The species that built these ships did," Yujin said. "And they were human, from a future that doesn't have to happen." Inside the temporal bubble, the humans began broadcasting the complete historical records from the ancient ships. Not just human history, but galactic history spanning millions of years. The records showed cycle after cycle of galactic civilization. Species would rise to power, dominate others, become corrupt, and eventually fall. The cycle had repeated hundreds of times, with different species playing the role of oppressor and oppressed. "Do you see?" Admiral Insu asked as the records played. "Every empire thinks it's different. Every dominant power believes it's bringing order and peace. But the pattern is always the same." The alien leaders watched in growing horror as they saw their own species' histories played out. The Villani had once been oppressed by an ancient trading empire. The Korans had fought for freedom against military dictators. The Ethereals had been slaves to beings of pure energy. "You've all been victims," Su-Min explained. "And now you've become the oppressors. The cycle continues because no one is willing to break it." Commander Hyun-woo expanded the temporal field to include some of the alien ships. Representatives from various species found themselves able to move and speak within the bubble of stopped time. "What is the point of this?" demanded the Zilani representative, speaking for one of the smaller allied species. "The point," Yujin replied, "is choice. We're showing you that there's another way." The historical record shifted to show possible futures. In one timeline, humans conquered the galaxy and ruled for 10,000 years before falling to rebellion. In another, the current galactic powers destroyed humanity and continued their dominance until they too fell to new challengers. But there was a third timeline, one where the cycle of domination and rebellion was broken. In this future, Su-Min explained, No single species dominates. Technology and knowledge are shared freely. Species cooperate instead of competing for control. Impossible! Trademaster Vex scoffed. Such a system would collapse into chaos. Would it? Admiral Insu asked. He gestured to the small fleet of Allied ships around Earth. Look at our allies. They chose to risk everything to defend us, not because we control them, but because we help them freely. The Kelvari representative spoke up from one of the smaller ships. The humans gave us back our world and asked for nothing in return. The Volani took our resources and left us to die. Which system creates more loyalty? Other allied species began to speak. The Drakmori told how humans had cleaned their poisoned minds. The Thessians described how human technology had restored their ruined farmlands. We follow humanity not because we fear them, the Thessian ambassador said, but because they showed us a better way to live. Elder Nyx's ethereal form flickered with uncertainty. And what happens when humans become corrupt? What happens when power changes them as it has changed every other species? Admiral Insu considered the question seriously. Then other species will have the technology and strength to stop us. That's the point. In our system, no one is too weak to resist oppression. The alien leaders looked at each other. Everything they believed about galactic order was being challenged. You're asking us to give up our power, General Korth said finally. No, Eugene replied. We're asking you to transform it. Instead of power over others, you could have power with others. Instead of ruling through fear, you could lead through cooperation. Commander Hyunwoo displayed new readings on the screen. The temporal field is stable, but it won't last forever. You need to make a choice. Trademaster Vex was the first to speak. The Volani Consortium has built our civilization on controlled trade. Without that control, we have no purpose. You could have a new purpose, Admiral Insu suggested. Instead of controlling trade to maintain power, you could facilitate trade to build prosperity for everyone. General Korth's red eyes glowed with anger and confusion. The Koran Empire exists to maintain military order, without enemies to fight. What are we? Protectors, Suman replied. Instead of conquering weak species, you could defend them. Instead of building fear, you could build security. Elder Nyx was silent for a long moment. Finally, the ethereal being spoke. The collective has guided younger species for millions of years. We believed guidance required control. But what if it didn't? Eugene asked. What if guidance meant teaching others to think for themselves instead of thinking for them? The temporal field began to flicker. Time was running out. One by one, some of the alien species began to choose. The smaller powers, those who had been oppressed by the Big Three, chose to join humanity's alliance. Some of the middle powers decided to remain neutral and see what developed. But the three major powers hesitated. Giving up control meant giving up everything they had built their identities around. Time's up, Commander Hyunwoo announced. Admiral Insu made his decision. Instead of forcing the choice, he gave the aliens their freedom. The temporal field collapsed, returning the galaxy to normal time flow. The human fleet remained in defensive positions around Earth, but did not attack. We will not force change on anyone, Admiral Insu announced to the entire alien armada. Those who want to join us in building a better galaxy are welcome. Those who want to maintain the old ways can do so, but not by oppressing others. The response was immediate and dramatic. Nearly half the alien fleet broke away from the armada, choosing to join humanity's alliance. Others declared neutrality and departed for their home systems. The three major powers were left with less than a quarter of their original force. This isn't over, Trademaster Vex transmitted as the Volani ships retreated. No, Admiral Insu agreed. But it's a beginning. Years passed. The galaxy slowly transformed as more species chose cooperation over domination. The three major powers maintained control over their core territories, but their influence shrank as other species developed their own advanced technology with human help. Wars still happened, but they were smaller conflicts between equals rather than genocide.